The borrowers. Long, long ago, tiny people lived in our houses. They were called borrowers. They were only as tall as a pencil. They lived in secret places, under the floor, behind the walls. A family of borrowers lived under an old English house. There was Pod, the father, Homily, the mother, and their daughter, Ariette. Their home was cozy. They used matchboxes for drawers, postage stamps for pictures, and thimbles for cups. Everything they had was borrowed from the human beings upstairs, the big people. Borrowing was dangerous. They had to be silent as shadows, quick as mice. Pod was an expert borrower, but Ariette, who was 14, was bored and curious. She had never been outside. She longed to see the sky and feel the grass. She dreamed of meeting other borrowers. Pod warned her. Never be seen. That is the first rule. If a human being sees you, we must move at once. It means danger for all of us. One day, Pod took Ariette on her first borrowing. They went through a tiny grating into the big house. Ariette was amazed. In the drawing room, as Pod tried to borrow a teacup, a boy was sitting quietly in a chair. He had been ill and was staying in the house. His name was the boy. The boy saw Ariette. His eyes widened, but he didn't scream. He spoke softly. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you." Ariette was terrified, but also fascinated. Pod grabbed her and they fled back under the floor. "We must move, now!" cried Homily in a panic. "He saw us!" But Ariette couldn't forget the boy's kind face. Against all rules, she went back to talk to him. She stood bravely on the windowsill. They became secret friends. The boy brought her wonderful things from his dollhouse: tiny books, furniture, even a perfect little bottle of ink. He helped her family. He left gifts in the places where Pod borrowed. Life became easier, even exciting. Ariette told the boy about the borrower's life. The boy told her about the great big world. "There must be other borrowers out there," he said. But a great danger lurked in the house. The old housekeeper, Mrs. Driver, was suspicious. She had seen little things go missing. She heard tiny noises. One day, Mrs. Driver set a trap. She saw a thread move. She called in the rat catcher. The rat catcher found the little grating under the clock. He ripped it open. He saw the borrower's tiny home. Pod, Homily, and Ariette hid in the darkest corner, their hearts pounding. The rat catcher's huge, rough hands reached in. Just then, the boy came running. "Stop! Leave them alone!" he shouted. He created a distraction, giving the borrowers a chance to escape. They scrambled out through a hole and ran into the vast, terrifying garden. They were outside at last, but it was not how Ariette had dreamed. It was cold, wet, and full of giants, cats, birds, and raindrops the size of their heads. They found temporary shelter in an old boot. They were homeless and scared. The boy found them. He was sad. "I'm so sorry," he said. "Mrs. Driver knows now. You can't stay here." He had a plan. He had heard of another borrower family who lived in a distant field, in a hedgerow. He gave them a tiny map and a gift, a single beautiful sugar cube for their journey. With heavy hearts but new hope, the little family set out. Ariette looked back at the boy one last time. She waved. The journey was an adventure. They crossed the huge lawn, which was like a jungle. They floated across a stream in a tin can. They faced a hungry crow. Finally, they reached the field, and there, by an old hedge, they saw a sign, a tiny, neatly hung teacup on a branch. It was a borrower sign. Someone else was here. Pod knocked on a tiny root door. It opened. A face peered out. It was another borrower. They were welcomed in. They had found a new home, and perhaps new friends. Arietti stood at the entrance of their new home, looking at the wide sky. She was no longer the bored girl under the floor. She was brave. She had seen the world. She had had a friend who was a giant. She learned that home isn't just a place under a floorboard. It's wherever your family is safe and together, and that even the smallest creatures can have the biggest adventures.